This tutorial will teach you how to publish your experiment so that others can access it. Before publishing, you'll want to go through the cleanup checklist. This involves removing any unused files, as well as making sure file sizes are accurate. Make sure you have a backup or two before cleaning up your work in case you accidentally remove something important. In order to put your experiment online, you'll need to find a remote host. I'm going to use a free option for this example, but hopefully you can just use your lab website. Using a free host is nice, but spammers also use these hosts, so when you send out your experiment links, it's more likely to end up in the spam folder. So make sure you exchange a couple emails with would-be participants, letting them know they should check their spam folder if they don't see one with an invite link. Hopefully, if you're only sending emails between university accounts, everything will look legit and you won't have this issue, but this is always something to be mindful of. When looking for a host, just see which ones have been rated highly. Infinity Free is nice, but they don't provide email to their free users. Some of these I tried but heard nothing back from, so we're going to skip those and use freehostingnoads.net. Nice professional sounding name. Signing up for a free web host is fairly similar to signing up to other free services. After confirming my email, I have an account. I'm going to be deleting this site before posting this video to prevent abuse, so don't come here looking for a working demo. If you need a demo, use the link in the documentation for the one hosted on GitHub. The first thing you want to do, if this wasn't part of account creation, is to create a website domain name for people to access your experiment through. With this host's dashboard, it's called Domain Manager. Rather than using my own domain name, I'll take the free option and use something called a subdomain, which is just an appendage on one of their domains. Now let's check out email to see if we can send ourselves a copy of the data when it's submitted. Because we're using a subdomain, it doesn't look promising. So yeah, looks like spammers ruined this for us, so we don't get it unless we have our own domain. This is fine though, we can still collect data and store it on the server. We just have to check for it manually. So now I'm going to their file manager to upload our website. This often has a folder called public HTML or public or something obvious. Here it's just our website name. I renamed my folder to something simple. The folder name will be part of the address you send to participants, so keep it pretty. Make a zip archive of your site and drag it into the upload box. Many hosts allow you to upload a zip and extract it through their file manager. I like this because it's faster to transfer a single file than negotiate the transfer of several tiny ones. Unfortunately, it looks like this site doesn't allow zip archives at all. Maybe they had trouble with people using their site as a file sharing service. Who knows? The next best option is to use the file transfer protocol. You'll need an FTP client on your computer for this. Let's go to the FTP manager and create an FTP account. It looks like this site has a convenient spot for all the info we need for our connection. So let's see if I have an FTP client. I guess I'll be using FileZilla. So I'm just going to quickly set up an insecure connection. Your host is usually your website's address. I'll use port 21 for regular FTP. It looks like they self-signed their site. I'm fine with that for a free host. Official certificate agencies can be expensive, and it's not like I'm giving them any sensitive information. I'm going to navigate to the website files on my local machine and the public directory for my website on the remote machine. I'm just going to drag my local folder over to start the transfer. Because the experiment is in a subfolder now, I'm going to make a new home page with this folder in the link. Stick the new home page in your remote public folder. Now that the transfer is done, we can see all of our files in their file manager. So let's do a quick run through of our new online experiment. So mine was located at testctviewer.atwebpages.com/rt/v.php. Notice that we're using our name testctviewer instead of www. And remember, you can add the question mark with v equals some number to tag participants if you wish. Obviously, loading time will increase when you're not sending files between a local server and a browser. However, on free hosts, it's possible they will likely slow down the transfer of your images. This is because there are loads of sites being handled along with yours, and slower speeds might also limit the probability that somebody's using their service for file sharing. So I don't expect anything, but I'm going to see if they did send me an email. But they didn't, which is fine. We don't need it. It's just cool to get emails the instant data arrives. I can go into the data folder through their file manager and see my new data. If this didn't happen, make sure there are writing permissions for that folder. You may also need to check the permissions on use.txt if you're using that and having troubles there. Because I can't get email and I don't want to deal with a slow online file manager every time I need to see if I got new data, I'm going to set up an Sftp connection with my FTP client. So I'm going to create a connection like I did before, but this time I'll store it using the port associated with Sftp. I need to make sure I set it to SFTP instead of FTP. So let me navigate to my data folder and I can see my previous experiment. I'm now going to run through the experiment again to create my data. Now I'll refresh the data folder and I can see my new data. I'll navigate to my data folder on my local machine and I can now download my remote data to my local data folder. I'll right-click on the remote data and download. I guess since I was downloading the folder, I should have stayed one folder up on the local side. Now that the data is on my local machine, I can open it in my spreadsheet. I guess the server's time zone's in Greenwich Mean Time, and I can see my IP address isn't the default localhost anymore. If you can't get emails, you may wish to download your data once a day or once a week. You can set the FTP client to just skip old data. If you want, you can also delete data from the remote server so that you can immediately see if the new data has been added. However, if you do this, make sure you don't delete the data folder itself. You'll need that for the process script to work. Now that your server is working online, you can send out links to your lab members to test on as many platforms as they have. Hopefully no new issues will arise and you'll be ready for the experiment to be used.